Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about the South Node unaspected in a natal horoscope. Now, there's a number of people out there that don't really think that this is a big thing in a chart because it's not an actual planet or a main point of significance, and at least in a lot of people's mind it isn't, such as the ascendant or midheaven. But the North Node, despite being just a mathematical position, I still perceive it as being pretty strong. It seems like whenever I get a generational planet that makes contact with it, and even sometimes a non-generational planet, it seems like something major happens. So I think and I'm talking about transits to my natal North Node, of course, but I'm talking about the South Node in this one. So South Node is still important, directly opposite the North Node. Now, the South Node, as a lot of you know, represents our inherent, a lot of attributes, qualities that we have that may come naturally to us, but it can also be a point of self-satisfaction and complacency. It's something that we often feel comfortable with, and we often revert back to even when attempting to pursue or emphasize or accentuate the North Node. Now, somebody has this unaspected. Same with planets, is that the energy, I believe, could be very uninhibited without a lot of restraint. And it could show somebody that has this proclivity to go back to their natural abilities and things which is not necessarily all bad, but at the same time it can prohibit one from going to the North Node, which is the soul's mission and purpose. Now, if we look at the South Node unaspected, this could be a person that on the positive side, at least in the early part of life, now we look at it like there's no adverse aspects. If there's no aspects, so there's no obstruction or blockage. Now, these things the person may emphasize early on in life, say up to approximately age 30, may actually be beneficial to some degree, but at some point the person needs to break out of this. And on the positive side, though, if somebody has the South Node unaspected, for all intensive purposes they have the North Node unaspected. And when I say all intensive purposes, in my opinion, you can have on a rare occasion, somebody could have the South Node unaspected, and they could have the North Node aspected. And I give you an example. This is because I believe that quincunx is really a major aspect, and it's controversial. There's still a lot of people that think it is very minor. Now, if somebody were to have, let's say, I'm referring to major aspects, so let's take a hypothetical example. The South Node, say, is making a semi-sextile, a 30-degree aspect to another planet. Now, that would mean that planet would be 150 degrees or in conjunct or quincunx from the North Node. Now, a lot of people don't believe the inconjunct is a major aspect. I perceive it as one. I think its effects are like a square or an opposition. But anyway, like I said, for most cases, that if you have South Node unaspected, you have the North Node unaspected, and at least that would allow the North Node to express itself very strongly, and often after like the age of 30 in the latter or second part of the native's life. And on the other side of the coin, though, you don't have the South Node. If you have anything that's unaspected, it can indicate that uninhibited energy that goes without a lot of obstruction or blockage. But on the other side, you can have that vacillation or distortion of energy, and a lot of this being attributed to, I believe, when a person utilizes or expends so much energy at one time connected with something, then they're zapped for a certain period, and the person may the South Node, I consider it kind of a redundancy point, and that's that comfort place for the person. And the person may use their South Node very strongly at one moment, and then at the next moment They may not use it at all, which is not always good, even though that's the thing you want to maybe not necessarily eradicate from your horoscope completely, but merely maybe not emphasize it as much, and merely integrate it with the North Node energy. So I give you, let's take an example. I have the South Node in Virgo in the 5th house, right? I have some aspects to it, but let's say hypothetically I didn't have it aspected and the South Node was unaspected. Well, South Node in Virgo in the 5th house can indicate some kind of analytical or intellectual fun, and such as maybe, like, for example, brain teasers and things that require, maybe things that involve detail. Some of you may know I have an NFL, or I guess you could say a YouTube NFL prognostication channel, and I do a lot of analysis with that and a lot of research connected with the stats to help make my predictions. But so if this was unaspected, this could be somebody that might become very, if I didn't have any aspects to it, it might be harder for me to pull away enough from it in order for it to integrate with my North Node, and I might be someone that, in spurts, may strongly emphasize and accentuate that South Node energy to the point where it could be to my detriment, because it wouldn't allow me to connect with my North Node as easily, perhaps, as say if it had some sextiles or trines to it. So that would be an example as to where I would be so maybe fixated with all this enjoyment and connection with things regarding details and research and things that require some kind of analytical or intellectual flavoring to it, or things connected with that, like I stated before, such as brain teasers and mental maybe mental projects that I find enjoyable. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the South Node unaspected in a natal chart, and stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Chiron unaspected in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel, and secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.